it's a sort of little question of how technology is changing the planning, logistics and production of outdoor events, which could take us about 3 to 3.5 weeks, I reckon. So what we're going to focus on is the bit I've found in common between these guys, which are Paul from One Plan, Alice Commins from Location Specialist, What Three Words, and Craig from Bournemouth Sevens. And I think crowd management is a sensible place or article to cover here. And One Plan, Paul did a very sort of good introduction to One Plan earlier this afternoon, and I'd ask him just to give us the highlights, if you like, about what it is One Plan does in terms of crowd management, and then we can follow on from that, Paul.
Okay, so we've got various tools within the system to help people plan for large movements of people. So a good example is we can plot on the map an area. It'll give you the actual size of that area, but also the crowd density, and you can select whether it be 5 people per square metre, 4, 3, 2 or 1. And you can select different areas according to different crowd densities. Obviously, if you're close to a stage at a festival, it'll be much more tightly together. But if it's a circulation area, you may only want 1 person per square metre. You often get event organisers coming forward going, we can easily fit 20,000 people in this site, it's no problem at all. But actually having some of these tools to help make that assessment is really important. The other 2 elements are arrival and departure. So people arriving into a venue, we've also got an arrival calculator in the system where you can put in there what your profile would be, so how many people you're expecting to arrive every 15 minutes. And then you can look at your ticket scanning. How many people can you process in 15 minutes? And it will automatically calculate how long the queue will be and how long people are waiting. And then finally, when people leave in an emergency situation or an exit gate, you can put into the system how wide your exit gate is, and then look at your flow rate, and it'll tell you whether your exit gates are wide enough for the numbers of people that you have. So there's lots of small little tools within the system to help people plan for the movement of people, and all events involving people. So it's really the kind of core of what we all do.
So just to swing across, actually, because Craig, you've got a people counting element of software that's new to Bournemouth Sevens, if I'm right in saying.
Yeah, so I think the development in technology is kind of happening at such a fast pace that it's allowing event organisers to develop new ways of monitoring things which are historically people managed or kind of have their own challenges. So probably one of the most prominent examples we had this year was around people counting and the ability for software to take that weight from kind of individuals members of security staff who are probably paid minimum wage, don't really care about your event, whereas you kind of have you can have that technological solution which is kind of impartial to a certain extent. So what we did at the festival this year was introduce an element of people counting over our main entrance, and we ran it alongside the more traditional kind of clicker solution. So for us, managing ingress and egress from an event is obviously absolutely crucial. So we need to know how many people are in an event when they're there, and that kind of comes after the planning phase. So working with something like Paul's system to plan the site, but then also monitoring the real-time data. And we actually saw some amazing stuff at our festival this year. So we're a sort of 20,000 people a day festival in Bournemouth, a sport and music festival, and we realised that actually in the last hour of our ingress phase, we see about 5,000 people through, which is a huge number of people through as a percentage. So, and we've learned from that. So looking forward into our forward planning for next year, we can say, okay, we know they come in at that point, what can we do to develop that? So yeah, that's the reality for us on the ground, so to speak.
Alice, I think, or your company works with One Plan to an extent already. Can you tell us in about 50 to 70 words what 3 words does?
Yep, so What Three Words is a new global addressing system, and what we've done is we've divided the world into 3-metre squares and given all of those squares their own unique 3-word address. And what that means is that people can communicate any precise location by using just 3 random dictionary words. So what we've done is we've taken the precision, accuracy and power of a GPS coordinate, but converted that into a much more human-friendly, simple format that everyone can use. So for example, the 3-metre square for the front door of our office is filled count soap. I can use that, I can put that into our free app or on our map site at what3words.com, and I can find out exactly where that location is. So I guess while we're not a crowd management tool, we're definitely something that can be used kind of as a complementary tool. We are free to use. Anyone can access the app or our map site. And for example, something like OnePlan could integrate What Three Words into their existing systems and solutions, or you could just have teams on the ground who have the What Three Words app installed on their phone, and if they're told, there's a crowd at this exact location, word, they could know exactly where that was, or if they wanted to direct a crowd to specific points of interest, again, they'd have a much more human-friendly, easy way to do so.
It's a kind of through crowd management, but emergency services, and we mentioned before about Reading Festival, which is about the most full festival in the world, just the way the crowds are oriented. Those 3 words can get emergency services to someone on the other side of site seamlessly and easily.
Yep, so as of kind of over the last 12 to 18 months, many UK emergency services have started to use What Three Words to locate 999 callers more easily. So in areas where you've got a force that is What Three Words enabled, a member of the public in the event of an emergency could kind of call 999, tell their call handler, I am located at table, chair, lamp, and they would know that help would be dispatched to that exact location. And the benefit of a system like that, or a way of communicating location like that, is that there are many places where describing exactly where you are is very, very difficult. We get a lot of kind of farmers out in the middle of fields needing very urgent medical assistance, and now they can direct crews exactly to their spot on the ground where they need help. You get people along the coastline have no idea where they are. You get people in crowds at festivals where, they're stuck somewhere by the white tent, but what does that really mean when there are millions of white tents? So kind of, again, What Three Words is a tool that either the emergency services can use or members of the public can use to kind of direct people to their own location, or to say, hey, there's something happening that shouldn't be happening at word, and people would know where that was.
And Paul, how are you using that in your business?
Yeah, I mean, we're a huge fan of What Three Words, and it works very well for us in Qatar. So for some of the test events for the FIFA World Cup, the tendency in Qatar is always to drive, and there's big open spaces where people can drive, and everyone's got a white 4x4, which is probably a Toyota. And the issue is, there's an incident, where are you? Well, I'm in the big car park with 5,000 cars next to the white Land Cruiser. And what we use to kind of manage incidents is the What Three Word location goes into the control room. Everybody knows exactly where that incident's taking place. And the beauty of it is as well that What Three Words is multiple languages. So if someone who only speaks Urdu or Hindu or Arabic, they can send the What Three Words in their particular language, and that goes to. And I think I'm right in thinking that the English, that they're very unique, all the 3 words, aren't they? So that it's not a translation of English into the Arabic. So it makes it kind of very, very accurate and easier for people to use. So that's how we use it in terms of incident management. Extremely helpful. We're able to respond to things more quickly, and also assign the right team to an incident. In terms of planning, so say, let's imagine these car parks again, and we need to put lighting into these car parks. From the OnePlan plan, we give the lighting contractor, temporary lighting contractor, the plan of where we want things. Now, if we didn't have What Three Words, this is just a light column in the middle of a car park with no markings, no kind of points of reference. It's just basically the kind of desert, and then off they go, and they're going to put those light columns wherever. But now they get to the right 3 meter square with the What Three Word address. They then put the light column in that right location. They then send a photograph through the OnePlan app, utilising What Three Words. That then comes into the control room. We go, yes, you put that in the right position. So we use it in the planning phase and also in the operational phase. But it's made a huge difference in terms of reducing the amount of time we have spent time with like signage contractors and lighting contractors, making sure they got things in the right place. We can all do this essentially kind of remotely, which has been fantastic.
Normally there's something you can look at with a new. I know OnePlan's not actually brand new, but you can normally see the glaring oversight. But from what I know of OnePlan, it seems to answer all of those planning questions. What's the take-up been like since you started it, and where do you take it next? How do you make that shout a bit louder to get people like Craig to pick it up in Bournemouth?
Yeah, so we launched 3 months ago really quietly because the intent in the first 3 months was to get feedback from people, understand how they're using it and how we can adapt and change. And we've learned a lot, particularly from road events. They want some different kind of requirements, so it's been very quiet. We're expecting maybe probably 50 or 60 people to kind of log into the system, but we're already up at 400, and there's nearly 700 events now being planned in one plan. The challenge for us is we support the planning for the Cheese and Chili Festival in Guildford, which is a couple of people logged in and a few tents and a couple of hundred people turning up, great. But we're also planning and supporting the FIFA Club World Cup in Qatar. That's got, at the moment, 40 people kind of registered users there. It's got the police service, it's got the overlay team, it's got the transport team, the spectator services team. The needs of those clients are quite different, so obviously we spend a lot more time face-to-face with the bigger clients, ensuring we deliver what they want. And with those clients, they have specific requirements. So a crowd barrier in Qatar is 3 metres long. In the UK, it's 2.2. The concrete barriers they have in Qatar different to the ones we have in France or the UK. So we have to customise the stuff they can get. So when it produces the bill of quantities, it's accurate for them. So a lot of the customisations is where we've had a lot of kind of work to do. But we're now at a really good point, and our kind of global campaign is starting from this month onwards. So you'll see a lot more from us.
Craig, what you've heard from that, I don't know what system you use at the moment at Bournemouth Sevens, but are you, having just met Paul, I know, but does that appeal to you as a concept that you could incorporate into Bournemouth Sevens?
Yeah, absolutely. I think anything that makes stuff simple for external agencies, external suppliers to understand is always going to be advantageous. I think, kind of being completely honest, most event organisers such as myself and the rest of our team, we live and breathe our event all day, every day, so we know exactly what we're talking about when we're talking about it. But you may be speaking to event organisers event suppliers who do hundreds, thousands of events a year, and trying to make them understand and appreciate the importance of certain things. It can be difficult to do. So for me, I found that actually the easiest way to do that is to develop a system that you can put something straight in front of them, often on the day, because they won't look in advance, and they can understand from that point exactly how they're going to deliver their services to your event. And both of the two things that we kind of being talked about in terms of what 3 words in one plan are amazing for that, because they don't require a huge amount of advanced planning. And often I've found, just again kind of being pragmatic, often the person, the foreman that arrives at your event to deliver the infrastructure or whatever isn't the person that you've been speaking to in the office who understands. So that kind of the ability to translate from office into a field, I think is super important. Currently we use a combination of Google Earth and AutoCAD to do our planning, but doing something that can be shown to a SAG group or a supplier in kind of equal, you can turn off different layers or whatever, I think is a really attractive proposition. So certainly a conversation we'll be looking to move forward.
Your job here is done. There's a few questions here that I'll pick up. I guess that one is to you, Paul. Does one plan integrate with live location and heat map providers?
Yeah, so we're an open system. Probably a good example of that is we're linking in Qatar with the ticket scan information. So when someone scans their tickets to go into the stadium, we can show that information in our operational mode. We're also linked in with Waze and Google Maps in terms of live traffic data. And each of the stewards on the ground will have the One Plan app. So in the control centre, in the VOC, the Venue Operations Centre, myself and the police commander will see where all our steward resources are located in real time. So what we don't do is when we call down on the radio, we don't send somebody, a couple of, half a kilometre to go and respond to something. We can actually respond with the local, the closest resources. Probably the next step on we'd like to do is look at real-time public transport data. So we're in conversations at the moment with Qatar Rail, a brand new rail system in Qatar. Can we get some of their ticket data so we can basically be ahead of the game of when we're expecting people to arrive? Can we have 15, 20 minutes pre-warning of when the screening areas are going to get hit with a lot of people? So we're just working on that. We're an open system, and we're more than happy to kind of work with partners such as What 3 Words and others, and in terms of having a very rounded solution for people during their operations.
Alice, if we look at that question, how functional is 1 3 Words internationally, and how would English translate to a location in Arabic, for example? You kind of touched on that, but can you give us...
Yeah, so it's a global system. It will work anywhere in the world. It's also, if you've got the app installed on your phone, it will also work offline. So that's really great if you're traveling abroad. How it works is that we're available in 37 languages to date at the moment, with more in development. So that's 4 billion people around the world having access to the system in at least one of their country's languages. And when you download the app, you'll just be able to select your chosen language. So for me, I would have chosen English, and you can either have a dual language, so you can always show a 3-word address in one language as your primary language on top, and you could also have your secondary language underneath, or you could just install languages as you go along. So if you are a very talented multilingual kind of person, you could just have several languages installed on your phone. As Paul touched upon, it's not a direct translation. So if I said to you, I am located at Apple Banana Spoon, which is a real 3-word address, it wouldn't suddenly become, I don't even know the French of what that would be, but it wouldn't be a direct translation of those 3 words. It would be a brand new, unique combination of 3 words in French. And the reason we've done that is because we've obviously had to think very carefully about word combinations in specific places, removing offensive words, making sure that there are no kind of cultural, or that nuances are kind of thought through, and so people in different languages and in different cultures might not be offended by certain combinations of words. And so, yeah, it's in the app. You can just translate languages.
Well, Paul, just to finish these off before we go back to Bournemouth, what are the biggest challenges of getting event organisers to understand the value of using a new tool like yours?
Yes, how we generally kind of start the conversation is, what are your key challenges and what are your key kind of planning challenges? Because it is often difficult to get people to change the way they've planned and the thing they're used to. Everybody likes PowerPoint because everybody knows how to use PowerPoint. It's kind of easy. So we tend to try and understand, and we've had some really interesting conversations over the last couple of months with road events particularly. They actually need a greater level of information on roads than Google Maps can provide, because they need to know the road markings. So we've gone away, and how can we get that? OS Maps is the solution. OS Maps actually has the road markings and arrows on there, and more accurate in terms of how wide is a road and where the islands are, and what road signage potentially. So it's really about kind of understanding what those kind of needs are. We think we've gone a long way now with that, and having a really, really easy, accessible system where people just go on. It's a 30-day free trial, and then they pay their subscription. We've tried to make it as kind of easy as possible for people to start kind of using the system and feeling the benefits.
Craig, we were talking again beforehand about just the phenomenal success of Bournemouth Sevens Festival in those 13 years I think it's been going. How much do you attribute that growth and that sort of vertical axis to technology? It's a big, under our original question for this session, using technology in the big one. I mean, how responsible is technology, certainly latterly in the last 5 years, to the growth in that event?
Yeah, I think probably there's so Bournemouth Sevens fundamentally was a great idea, and that was how it kind of came about. It was that combination of sport and music, which kind of replicated Dubai Sevens, Hong Kong Sevens from an international model. But I think actually the development and the growth that we've seen of going from sort of 5,000 people a year to over 35,000 people a year has kind of been created through good organisation and good structure and the development of a team. And technology is kind of fundamental in that, I guess. So I'd say probably the 2 things that really stand out for me in technological terms of developments over the last few years have been one in data, so understanding your audience and being able to communicate them in the best possible way. Obviously there's kind of caveats around data protection and all that kind of stuff, but I think event organisers have a much better understanding of who's coming to their event, why they're coming to their event, and being able to harness that knowledge develops your event, and also realising the trends in that kind of sector are super important. And I'd say the second kind of piece is in and around technology in managing safety and crowd movements, and being able to understand and support how your event is delivered. I literally don't know how people run festivals without CCTV, and kind of seeing where crowd movements are, how that process is happening, understanding when people are arriving on site. I used the example earlier of our people counter, but having knowledge about those pieces helps you to make sure that every kind of person is having a great event and they're safe at your event. We work in an inherently risky business in outdoor events, so you're one bad festival away from not happening again effectively, even after kind of year 13. So for us, we need to do every possible thing we can do, and using technologies such as scanners, CCTV, installing networks is really kind of fundamental to that piece, I would say.
Understood. Just in summary then, Alice, is there anything else we should know about what it is you do and what its next step is in terms of the event market in this country?
I think we've seen a lot of interest from the events industry of using What3 Words, and that's off the back of us being used in other industries. So while it's not something that we're huge in at the moment, I'd say you will start to see potentially more and more event organisers being aware of What3 Words, seeing it hopefully in more systems built in really useful tools and platforms such as OnePlan. But it's hard to say. It's free to use, it's readily available, so for the most part it's just a case of kind of getting started and giving it a go and seeing if it does help you.
That's exactly the same as OnePlan, really, isn't it, as a way to finish?
Yeah, and I just wanted to pick up on a point that you made about Bournemouth's an incredibly successful event. It's got an incredible reputation, but like you said, it's only one festival away from not happening again. And if we look at some of the major crowd management history, my kind of background is crowd management. The big, if we look at Love Parade, you look at the Hillsborough disaster. These disasters never happen on year one. It was 100 years since Hillsborough had actually been built to whether there was a disaster. Love Parade had been going 14 years. So never stand still. Always keep looking at new technology. Always keep looking at ways to make your event safe. Because these things never ever happen in year one. They're generally year 5, year 10, year 50. So constantly keep looking at the next thing and how you can make things safer. What3 Words is a really good example of how it can make the world safer and a better experience also for your visitor. And we hope that OnePlan is also going to fit into that mould as well.
Okay, Paul, Alice, Craig, thank you very much indeed. Cheers. Cheers.